We will now call to order the meeting of Muskogee Municipal Authority for today, October 12th. Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Jamie Stout.
Here.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Here.
Alex Reynolds. Stephanie Morgan.
Here.
Tracy McGee.
Here.
Tracy Hoos.
Here.
Item number 1.
Approval of MMA minutes, September 14, 2020.
We've all had an opportunity, I hope, to review the minutes for the MMA. Do we have any revisions or motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds. Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Item number 2.
Consider approval of MMA claims for the months ending August 31, 2020 and September 30, 2020.
Do we have a report of the claims?
Yes. Mr. Chairman, members of the authority, you have before you the claims from MMA for both September and August. We do recommend approval. You may recall last month there were some questions as to the August claims, and so those are on here again. We'll be happy to answer any of those questions, and we do recommend approval.
Do we have any questions from the council about the claims?
Move for approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Abstain.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. That will conclude the municipal authority meeting for tonight. We will now call to order the meeting of the Muskogee City Council for October 12th, 2020. Roll call. I'll come back and recognize.
Okay.
I'm sorry. We need a motion to excuse Councilman Reynolds.
Make
since
a
he will
motion
not be
we
here
excuse
tonight.
Councilman Reynolds. Second.
Roll call.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Before we go into the official roll call, let me take this opportunity to remind all of our citizens that today we did recognize Indigenous Peoples Day in the city of Muskogee. There was a wonderful event taking place at the gazebo at the Civic Center, and it was very, very well attended. I don't see any of those staff people from the organizing body here, but certainly we want to thank them for their efforts and the energy that they put into the program for the week. We'll now have ask that you stand for the invocation by Council Member Deputy Mayor Derek Reed, and then the flag salute.
Shall we pray? Dear Lord, we come once again thanking you for the gift of another day. Thank you for providing us with your love, your mercy, and your grace. We ask that you would look upon us as we come together tonight to make decisions for our community. Just ask that you would just order our steps in your will and in your word. Just ask that you would bless our community as we are fighting a pandemic. Just ask that you would just send healing in the land. These are many of the blessings we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Please join us for the flag salute. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Jamie Stout.
Here.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Here.
Alex Reynolds. Stephanie Morgan.
Here.
Tracy McGee.
Here.
Tracy Hoos.
Here.
We will now consider the approval of the minutes for the special call city council meeting for September 21st and the regular session September 28, 2020. Do we have any comments or corrections to the minutes or a motion to approve?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. We will now consider the consent agenda, which consists of items numbered 1 through 7. Are there any agenda items that need to be moved to the regular agenda, or do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Been properly moved in second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. We will now move to the regular agenda, item number 8.
Receive report on the COVID-19 pandemic in Muskogee, and if necessary, take appropriate action to authorize and approve a subsequent amendment to Resolution Number 2801, declaring a local emergency, or City-County Joint Resolution Number 2803.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of council. This is our weekly update. A couple of things I want to point out before I call Mr. Evans forward from Emergency Management, and we'll have others that may be able to speak to this item as well. The state report from the White House Task Force, one of their recommendations is messaging to communities about effectiveness of masks and working with communities to message how masks work and protect individuals from COVID-19, among several of their other recommendations. And so please know that your COVID-19 City County Task Force has taken that to heart and is implementing messaging that we will be rolling out with the help of a professional firm that's helping us put that messaging together. Mr. Tucker has led that effort on behalf of the City County Task Force. So we're trying to implement these recommendations as we can to make sure that even though we've heard the messages a lot, and they're oftentimes the same, social distancing, wear your mask, good hygiene, that we need to keep vigilant about those things. So with that said, we have seen some milestones in Oklahoma about a number of cases, and so I'd like to ask our emergency manager, Tyler Evans, to come forward and give us further information.
And good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of council. In front of you, you have your packet that you've come accustomed to seeing. As of today, there's 205 active cases in the city of Muskogee, which is down slightly from the same time last Monday. However, over the past week or so, we're sticking around the 200 number, right above that number. Below that is the line graph that represents our path so far since September 11th. So we have about a month of line graph data there that shows that we are up. As Mr. Miller stated, we have hit some milestones for the number of active cases here, not only in Muskogee, but for the county and for the state itself. On the following pages are the percentage data for the city level, the county, and the state, along with some data from the state weekly epidemiology report that's included in there, and also the White House COVID-19 task force that's included in there also that you guys are used to seeing. Some of the data did change. We talked about the 12 counties based on number of new cases in the last 3 weeks. We have moved down to the last very bottom right-hand corner, which, as I stated last week, I'd hope we'd be off this, but we are moving down out of the top 12 there, and we hope to be out of that here shortly. As I stated, this is data you guys have come accustomed to seeing. If there's no questions on this particular data, I'd like to introduce Mr. Walton from Muscovy County Health Department to give us an update.
Thank you, Tyler, Mayor, Council. We are correctly continuing to see sort of holding to slightly increased rates of daily cases in the county, and we are hopeful that the efforts to increase our communications with the public about mask wearing and distancing primarily, hand washing as well, but it's really the mask wearing and the maintaining the 6 feet distance that seems to be mattering the most in terms of reducing spread, and anything that we can do to get that message across to the public, I think will be greatly helpful. We're still doing testing daily at the County Health Department, and been looking at those numbers breaking them out really by month, and the rates of positivity really just continue to go up. For the month of October, we are looking at about nearly 5% positivity on the tests, the percent tested that come back positive. Compares with about 13% for September, 9%. Let me restate that. 16.5 for September compares with 13% for August and 9% for July. So that's another measure of community spread, those rates of positivity. On the testing, we are providing free curbside coronavirus testing, 8:30 to 10:30 a.m. at the Muscogee County Health Department. Fridays, we are reserving all day for drive-through flu tests or flu shots. So Monday through Thursday, COVID testing. Friday, all day flu shots also free, and no appointment required for either of those. And I'll be happy to take any questions.
Doug, this is Mayor Coleman. Is there any way for us to look at the percentages, the way they've increased, and measure them against when testing or more testing became available? So, for example, in August, if the rate was X percent, were more test kits available in September so that we can see the progress of community spread versus more testing being actually available?
Yes, sir. In fact, this particular measure of looking at the percent of tests that come back positive is really the way in which that is done. Whereas if we were just simply looking at the number of new positive cases each month, just looking at the increase in cases, that doesn't really account for increased testing. But when we look at the percent of positives, basically when we just simply divide the positive cases by the total number tested and get that percent, we see that increasing, and that's what I'm reporting to you is the percent of tests that are coming back positive. So it's basically accounting for that we have conducted more tests, but the rate of positivity is increasing, which back when we started initially, for example, the month of May, we just began the curbside testing, had 143 tests that were conducted. 0 of those came back positive. In June, we had 210 tests conducted. 12 came back positive. That was a 5.71% positivity rate. In July, we had 1,339 tests, drive-through tests here at the health department. 121 of those came back positive. That's a 9% positivity rate. August, 722 tests, 94 positive. That's 13% positivity. And then for September, 637 tests, 105 positive. That's 16.48% positive. So it's that measure of positivity that indicates the presence and the spread, and it's sort of I guess whatever the literature and the medical guidance suggests, 5 to 6 to 7% over that positivity rate is an indication of community spread.
And the reason why I asked that question is because I think it's important for not just the residents of the city, but others who may be watching from other parts of the state to understand that the likelihood is that the more people are more comfortable being tested, the more they're leaving their homes to actually participate in these testing events, the more likelihood that we're going to see that those numbers actually go up because more testing is actually available and more people are comfortable taking the test.
Well, that is true. That is true, and I may not be stating it clearly enough, but and Dr. Hoos may be able to help if he can help clarify if needed. But certainly, as we test more people, we will find more cases. It's a pretty well given, and that is the reason that we need to be doing as much testing as possible. And you can expect the number of cases to increase as we do more testing. But this measure of positivity is looking at, for a given number of tests conducted, whatever number of tests conducted, we are finding more positive cases for that number of tests. So it's sort of accounting for an increasing in the number of tests that are given, and we're seeing an increasing rate of positivity for the same number of tests, if that makes sense.
Yes. Thank you.
Sure.
And Mr. Mayor, I'd like to remind our citizens, there's a couple places in town to be tested. You got the Muskogee County Health Department, as Doug said, is testing Monday through Thursday. You have Urgent Care on South 32nd Street next to Wendy's. That's doing the testing. MedNow on Shawnee next to Freddy's. And then Express Wellness on Chandler Road next to Charlie's Chicken, east of town. So there's 4 different places to be tested here in Muskogee if people need to be tested or simply want to be tested. If there's no questions for Doug or myself, I'd like to introduce Trish German with Muskogee County EMS.
Good evening, Council. Muskogee County EMS, our call volume has increased, and I think it's just going to keep going up from what I understand. I got a brief report from Josh today. One thing was told to me that we're having problems getting our PPE in. Apparently, we can't get stuff in from the state, supplies in from the state, unless we show that we have attempted to get supplies from X amount of other people and have been turned down. So I may contact you to see if maybe we can get a letter or something to help us out to get some PPE in. I know we're really running short on like extra large gloves and large gloves is what Josh told me today. Boo on the flu this Friday, very important. Remember, get your flu shot because we don't want to have an overabundance of people getting a flu shot getting the flu and COVID because we don't want our healthcare workers to get overwhelmed. It's going to be at Honor Heights Park this Friday, 8 to 1 is when you can come in, line up. You don't have to get out of your car. You don't have to do anything. Just get a flu shot, and then you can leave. Any questions? Thank you.
And speaking of PPE, the city continues to work with the county emergency management along with the state. If you remember a couple of months ago, we received a shipment of PPE in for our schools that was passed out. That was face shields and gloves and masks, so on and so forth. The state is sending another shipment that will be here Wednesday. It's hand sanitizer and gloves. The latest as I received is every student will receive 2 of the masks like I'm wearing here, like they received last time. So the city is helping the county and the state. Like I said, we're receiving 13 counties, and last time I checked, it was about 70 different school districts for their mask and hand sanitizer. I'll be coming here this week that we'll be help distributing. As far as my update, that's all I have. I'd like to pass the floor back over to Mr. Miller.
Mr. Mayor, I'll be recognized.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Evans, I just have one quick question.
Yes, sir.
On the ones who's doing the testing, like the health department, the other one, the urgent care, what do they charge?
If you have insurance, it's free. As far as how much it costs, that's something they'd have to call and check. It may vary by provider. For example, Express, Urgent Care, or MedNow may have slightly different prices on how much it costs, but it is free testing at the Muskogee County Health Department, and everything I've been told is free testing if you have insurance with the other places also.
But if you don't have insurance, the urgent cares, they do charge.
That's something you'd have to call and verify with them. I know there's probably ways to get it paid for, and I don't want to say a price because it may vary from provider to provider.
Okay. I just want the citizens to know that because the only one I think right now is doing it free is the health department because I've checked with urgent cares and you have to have insurance.
Yes, sir.
You know, just want to make sure the citizens understand it. Just don't run to urgent care and try to get a test without paying.
Yeah, I would call first to verify to see how much it was.
I'll check. Thank you, Todd.
Uh-huh.
Turn the floor back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Miller?
Concludes the staff report. We have no recommendations at this time. We'd be happy to answer any other questions.
Do we have any questions from the council?
Mayor, before we move on, to answer Councilor Van's question, I was looking for an email. I think we've got that information on the costs for each one of those facilities that have. We contacted them last week, and I believe I have that. Oh, perfect. The urgent care of Muskogee, the cash price was $100, and the Express Wellness cash price, which is those without insurance, is $135, and it cost with MedNow is $70. In addition to the office charge, do we know what the office charge is? It's 40, so that would be 110. Yes. So those are the cash prices. As Tyler mentioned, if you have insurance, most of the cost is covered by insurance, but this is specifically the cash price if you walk in, no insurance, and want to get those tests at any of those 3 locations.
But if you walk in and don't want to get tested and don't have insurance, you know they're not going to take you.
Well, you'll pay the cash price.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, how can I say this? For me, example, poor people like me don't have that kind of money to spend to get a test. I'm going to have to go to the health department.
If you don't have insurance. Yeah.
Right. You know, because you just walk in there and they ain't going to take you. That's just what I'm trying to make known to our citizens. Thank you, though, Kelly and Roy, for that information.
Yep.
It's helpful for that exact price. I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Mayor. I mean,
Thank you. Any other questions before we move on? Thank you for your report. Item number 9.
Consider approval of the appointment of Victor Lazama to serve on the War Memorial Trust Authority, filling the unexpired term of Mark Hughes beginning October 1, 2020, and ending on February 28, 2021, or take other necessary action.
Councilor Reynolds is absent, but Councilor Morgan is here, who also serves on the trust. Will you give us commentary on this appointment, please?
Yes, this is Alex's appointment, and this is who he picked, and I just moved for approval.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on this appointment. Any further discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, by recognize.
Yes.
I believe Mr. Reynolds, he picked a good man. Because Mr. Victor, he's a very outstanding person. He's runs the barracks, and I'll be glad when they get the barracks going. You couldn't pick a better person. He's from the military, he knows a lot. And like I say, I think he's a very good choice. And I'm proud of Mr. Reynolds for choosing him. Because I've been to him several times on different issues with the veterans, and he's always helped me out to help the veterans get somewhere. So I think this is a very, very good choice. I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Further discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, the item passes. Item number 10.
Receive report on the City of Muskogee Free Dump Day, October 17, and associated citywide cleanup efforts.
This is my agenda item, and let me start off by saying that we always want to remind our citizens and do a much better job at reminding them of the opportunities that we have to take advantage of in terms of cleaning our city and making Muskogee a cleaner place. One of those opportunities and advantages is our Free Dump Day, which is scheduled to take place this coming Saturday. Free Dump Day takes place from, I believe, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And so I'm going to briefly give a report of some things that we may be able to do in advance of Free Dump Day to make our city a much cleaner place. And I don't have the clicker. Anybody can click. Mayor, do you want me to do it? Yes, please. Thank you. So as we have previously stated, the dump site is open from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Saturday. And again, this is a free dump day. There will be no charge. I often try to say in terms of cleaning up the city that we want to be the solution to our own complaint. And so I want to take this opportunity to encourage our residents, in the absence of a more organized program, that we do what we can to be good stewards of our community. So there are areas in the city where you see trash or debris, be a good citizen. Bag it up, Let's take it to the dump site, which is going to be a free event. Civic organizations who have adopted streets or highways should please clean their designated areas. A couple of years ago, we implemented a program where organizations could adopt a street or a highway. And so I'm asking that those individuals and those entities that have adopted streets and highways will take advantage of this opportunity to clean their highway that they adopted as part of taking advantage of this free dump day. Now, there may be other organizations and individuals who want to volunteer to clean or mow a section of town. And if you're interested in doing that, I'm going to ask that you email Marshall Wiseman at the email address that is provided. For those who are listening and not able to watch, that email address is mwiseman at muskogeeonline.org, or you're able to contact our office at 918-684-6201. The reason why we want you to contact us if you don't have an adopted highway is because we want to be able to offer our services and support to any individuals or organizations who would also like to collaborate together to be able to help keep Muskogee clean. That was the end of what I wanted to say about that on tonight. Do we have any questions from the council? Thank you for your attention. Item number 11.
Receive report on 2 recent community events held at city facilities: Okie Jeep Jam held at the Hatbox Multipurpose Center, and Hot Dogs and Heroes held at Robinson Park.
Again, this is my agenda item. We want to say that we want to do what we can to remind the residents of all of the good news that we have going on in Muskogee. We want to appeal to the silent majority of people who always have positive suggestions to be more positive and more vocal about those things that we have going on. So we had the Okie Jeep Jam this past weekend, and it's important to note that in 2019, we had 154 Jeeps to attend. In 2020, we had 405 Jeeps to attend. That's a dramatic increase because it shows that Muskogee is a viable city and that Hatbox is even a much more viable venue to have events. And before we go on, I want to take this opportunity to thank Mark Wilkerson and his staff, as well as other community volunteers who made Jeep Jam a huge success, and it was a huge success in the city of Muskogee. Masks were distributed. 400 Okie Jeep Jam masks were given to all of the participants as we're trying to have people to volunteer to wear masks when in public, as well as to wear masks when required on all city properties. Over 100 Jeeps participated in the Friday night show and shine. That's a strong testament that now we have people that are coming in to actually stay the night. They're coming in a day before the event. They're staying the night. They're contributing to hotel motel tax, as well as investing into our sales tax here in Muskogee. We had 13 RV camps set up, camping vehicles set up in 2019. In 2020, we had 61. And so that's a dramatic increase. We have 4 primitive campers in 2019. We had 27 in 2020. Again, these are people that are staying the night in Muskogee. And so when we have these type of dramatic increases, we want to be certain that we highlight that we do have events that are working well in Muskogee, that are viable tourism events that are contributing to the growth of the city. There were 75 Oklahoma cities that participated in this year's event. On your screen at home, I'm not sure how clear it is to see, but we have highlighted 75 cities. We had Jeeps from 75 cities in Oklahoma to participate in this year's event. That's a huge testament to the fact that when we want to do something in Muskogee, people are happy to be here. 83 Jeep registrations from out of state, 22 from Texas, 20 from Arkansas, 18 from Missouri, 19 from Kansas, 1 from South Dakota, 1 from Mississippi, 1 from Florida, 1 from California. I want to comment that the 38 total, not 38, the 18 from Missouri and the 19 from Kansas, not only did they participate in Jeep Jam at the Hatbox, they perused around the city to try to find things to do. We ran into a number of them who were at the Muskogee Brewery right next to City Hall, and they were happy to be in Muskogee. In fact, most of them stayed the night. Here's an image of some of the Jeeps that were there. And let me say an image does not do justice if you've not rode in a Jeep, especially if you haven't rode in one for the purpose that they have, the Jeep Jam. I had the opportunity to ride in one, and this guy ran over everything with no problem. Didn't destroy anything. Let me put that disclaimer out there, but it was quite an adventure. We also had a little Okie crawler playground for the little people like me. And so it was a fun event for children to be able to participate in this event as well. And I think that it should go without saying that when we have these events, we're proving now that we're attracting the entire family. Here's another image of those tiny Jeeps. Another image of the Jeep where you see the sign that says Jeep Expo. There were a number of Jeeps inside the hangar, and it was quite something to see. The Veterans Ride Tribute. I think it's important as a city, we always try to place emphasis on our veterans, and there were a number of Jeeps who lined up with the American flag to pay homage to all of our veterans and all of our heroes who have done such a fine job keeping our country and our nation safe. There's another image of the Jeeps that were lined up with their flags. As you can see, they paraded in front of the VA Medical Center. Another strong suit that we have here in the city of Muskogee to have that VA medical office here, and taking advantage of, through the Jeep Jam, participants to show those veterans that we care. There's an image of the terrain, the teeter-totter and the brick climbing. Another image. That was Jeep Jam. We were also very fortunate this past weekend to have Hot Dogs and Heroes. The Hot Dogs and Heroes organization brings highlights to those veterans who have participated so well, who are locally most of the time. And so we recognize them. Every branch of the military was recognized, and we are proud to have had them here in Muskogee. The Army Band played, and from what I understand, that's a rarity to have them actually show up in your town to be able to play. And they were there almost as a full orchestra, ready to participate, ready to demonstrate and showcase Muskogee. And I'm certain we'll hear something later on from those who have signed up to give thanks about this event, that when it was not able to be held in Fort Gibson, Muskogee gladly had it here. And we're looking forward to doing it here in Muskogee for years to come. The soldiers that are standing were recognized for their part in disseminating PPEs as well as their play and making certain that they were available to help fight the COVID-19 virus. The last thing we'll say about all of those events that we had is that we want to encourage our residents in Muskogee to be great. We have a lot to offer. We have a lot of events that happen every weekend. We have a lot of people that make our city great. And so we want to take the opportunity to salute those organizers of those two events, as well as all of our residents and volunteers to help make those events a success. That concludes my report. Do we have any questions or comments from the council? We have one person, two people who have signed up to speak to this item. I'm going to call them forward at this time. Stephen Ezel, will you come to the microphone, give us your name and your address, and you'll have 5 minutes.
I'm going to remove my mask briefly because it's easier for me to talk. Thank you. I hope.
Cover the microphone.
Steve.
Sorry. I'm sorry, I'm doing the best I can. Okay.
You hold this.
All right.
No, listen to what I'm saying. You hold this. Hold the tile.
Sorry. Okay, Stephen Ezel, 6121 South 6th Street East, Muskogee, Oklahoma. To fully understand and appreciate the event on which will be reported, it's necessary to review a brief history of why this event is important. Back in 2017, I was doing with another friend of mine. We were doing work with honor guard and stuff like that out at Green Hill Cemetery, and we noticed that a lot of grave sites were looking very, very, very awful and in great disrepair, including the gravestone of the gentleman our American Legion post is named for, James F. Smith. You couldn't even read his name. So the thing to remember is that we started this program to help get groups involved to restore and clean the grave sites of veterans who were buried and or memorialized in public and private cemeteries, which do not necessarily have both the monetary nor manpower resources necessary for continual upkeep and maintenance. So we've got groups together, such as Junior ROTC, and I'd like to tell you, over the past couple of years, these cadets helped clean over 1,500 grave sites, both at Green Hill Cemetery and Booker T. Washington Cemetery. That saved the city, in both public and private funds, over $25,000. And it also saved the Junior ROTC program. So the picnic that we do is to honor the young people and the groups that assist us in these activities. We serve free hot dogs, drinks, chips. We present commemorative tiles and a cake and everything like that. We've had an Army band, of course, down, and we've had, of course, a number of dignitaries such as the mayor and state officials, other public officials. Which comes to what I'm about to do next. You see, each year we've had a commemorative tile made that honors a theme of each picnic. The first picnic was the Doughboys of World War I. Last year was the Tuskegee Airmen of World War II. And this year we have honored the medical personnel who have fought on the front lines to combat COVID-19. And there have been a number of medical personnel who have lost their lives in the process. What each of you has in front of you is a commemorative tile that's yours to keep. Now, at this time, I'd like for Mayor Coleman to come down because I would like to present to the city a commemorative tile which can be displayed here at City Hall. Would you come down, sir, please? Mayor Marlon Coleman, on behalf of James F. Smith Memorial American Legion Post number 15 and the Hot Dogs and Heroes Project, I would like to present to you this commemorative tile for the city of Muscovy. Thank you, Steve. Thank you. If you know what the deal says, that others may live, that's the motto of medics. And that is the very first hospital ever in Oklahoma at Fort Gibson. Medical ship, and all medical ship, medevac chopper, and all the branch symbols. Thank you. And I thank you, sir. And as I said, the tiles that have been presented to each of you are yours to keep as a memento for those of you who were able to be there and those of you who are not. And I anticipate more successes in years to come. And I just want to say I am proud to be an Okie from Muskogee, a place where even squares can have a ball. So God bless Muskogee, Oklahoma, USA.
Thank you, Stephen. The next person who has signed up to speak to this item is Paul Mckinstry. I'm going to ask that you come to the microphone, give us your address, and you'll have 5 minutes.
My name is Paul Mckinstry. I reside at 3301 West 46th Street South, Muskogee, Oklahoma. and I'm also proud to be an Okie from Muskogee, even though I transplanted in. I want to thank you all for what you've done for the picnic over for us this year. Many of you were there, so I won't reiterate. Awesome photographs. This is what it's all about to be a Muskogean. I did bring a separate CD, they would not let me show it, of you, sir, firing the artillery piece in slow motion. I'll give it to you. It'll rock you. It's just awesome. But what I'm trying to say here, people, is this is where we start from. I mentioned a while back, Girl Scout cookies started right here. How dare we forget that this is the beginning of something so great. And I'm hoping that eventually this picnic will take the same way. I'm going to cut it short. The Army Band, when they were here, as you met, the first sergeant spoke to me personally. He says, I want to thank you, Paul. Because of COVID, we have never played together since COVID started until now. It's your invitation that brought us here, that the Army agreed to let us come together as long as we followed the COVID-19 policies. And they were just totally, they said next year they want to play swing music, jazz music, and the whole bit. The other thing is, when I spoke to the artillerymen, they were so proud and honored to be here. As you know, they do a lot of things at Honey Springs and things like that. And it also gave them a chance to show themselves, and I hope to use them in the future. The odds of getting the band and the artillery together may not occur again, as busy as their schedules are, but that's what I plan on doing. Now, the other thing, thank you for the presentation you gave, very well done, and that's really about all I've got to say. I'm coming in as John Q. Public today. I've been asked to come not as a member of the Legion. I've been asked to request the city to consider a resolution. We know that October is now the Cemetery Memorial Restoration and Cleanup Project. We request the city of Muskogee to reserve the first Saturday in October as hot dog restoration here in Muskogee. And I ask you all to consider that. That way it'll give us a chance to tell all of these groups from all over the country that plan on the first Saturday, we'll let you know where and all that stuff. So I ask that you do that for us, please, not as a Legionnaire. But anyway, thank you very much. I'm way ahead of schedule, so y'all did a good job. Any questions or what we plan on doing in the future? Oh, by the way, we had medical personnel from Tinker Air Force Base, and they were here to represent Tinker, and they received the plaques. They were just totally awesome. And we did have a minor incident in which they were called to service. So they said we were more than happy to serve. So thank you all for your time and your effort. Hope to see you soon. No questions? Thank you.
You know, you're talking about that minor, Mr. Mayor, may I recognize?
Yes.
He was talking about that minor incident. You know who that minor incident was, right?
I've heard rumors, but I don't believe rumors.
The minor incident was my little grandson. He fell down and busted his little lip, and his mother had to take him to urgent care. I had to go with her, but it had been me. When I raised my kids, you just wash it out and be done with it. But we went to urgent care, and that's what we had to do with them. You know, these younger mothers are different than I was, but that's what the incident was about. But he's all right now. He's in good shape.
One other thing, would have been nice to have an ambulance there.
Oh, Lord.
Because you never know when something might. But anyway, thank you so much again. And again, it makes me have great pride in Muskogee that it started right here, and it's going to continue from here. So thank you so much. Oh, by the way, next year, I plan on honoring the female veterans of the military. So I'd like to have a good turnout because they're way behind the scenes, and they do a lot of good for us. So thank you so much. That's it.
Thank you. That concludes my report. Do we have any commentary or questions from the council?
Mr. Mayor, I'll be recognized.
Yes.
God knows I started and I say nothing, but I just can't sit up here. And the rules that we put in place, we should go by our own rules. God knows we should go by our own rules. And I sit there, and please take this in love. I'm not the mayor. I'm not running this meeting. But what I seen at that mic just a while ago, that troubled me, because you're supposed to have a mask on when you're talking in it. You don't supposed to sneeze in it. And I noticed, and please don't take this wrong, I just speak my mind of what I think is right. The presentation, what you did at G-Fest was great. But one thing I didn't see you have at G-Fest, because I went after I left Robertson Park to G-Fest. I've never been there. I mean, that's a great event. A lot of people out there. A lot of people. But one thing that troubled me at G-Fest, that's another thing. Inside our hangar, we have rules. People are supposed to wear a mask on city property. I went out there and it shocked me. No one had masks on. Not even the people that is serving you food. But I was looking at your pictures there on there, but I didn't see any close-up pictures of how all the people were, because if you'd just done some close-up pictures, you'd have seen no one had masks. These masks here are important. They will save our lives. And we have something that big in Muskogee, I believe, that we need to have masks on, especially on city property. Because it was a lot of people. I ain't taking nothing away from it. But I just wish next time, if this is still going on, we have a big event somewhere, please go out and ask somebody to tell these people to put masks on. I know you said you gave them away, unless they threw them in the trash, because they wasn't there. That's the honest to God truth. I didn't see nobody there. And there was a lot of people there at G-Fest on the Saturday I went. So that's just my thought out there. I might have shouldn't have said anything, but I just can't sit up here and see things done wrong. When we try all our best to sit in here, we're sitting in here all the night with these masks on to protect ourselves. But we get out of here, it's like nothing. Corona ain't here. We need to do better. That's all I can say. I'll turn the floor back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Before we move on, Mr. Wilkerson is here. I'm going to ask that you just stand. Again, I can't thank Mr. Wilkerson enough and his committee and his staff for all of the things that they did to make Jeep Jam a huge success. And certainly we want to thank you and looking forward to many other events, as well as the Hot Dogs and Heroes resolution that we will consider at Mr. Mckinstry's request.
I'd like to recognize Justin O'Neill. He was a big part of the Jeep Jam team and the success.
Thank you. Thank you all for what you do to help make Muskogee great. Item number 12.
Discuss and take action to direct staff to investigate and identify funding opportunities for the purchase of an incinerator for use at the city's animal shelter.
So what we want to be able to do as a city is be certain that we provide proper and decent services for the remains of all of our animals. Muskogee is not unique in the sense that we have an overpopulation of animals, and we want to be certain that as we move forward, that we have the mechanisms in place to be certain that they're properly provided for when their time expires. Before we go into the presentation, I want to take this opportunity to thank Tyler Evans and his staff who run the animal shelter, and I want to say to the community and all of those here present tonight that our staff to this date have done everything they could with the resources and the direction that they've had, and certainly we want to thank them, and we want to make this presentation to try to help their jobs to run along much smoother as we do what we can to provide for the remains of our animals. Angel's Pet Funeral Home has volunteered their services. They're based out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and they volunteered their crematory for the needs of our Muskogee animal shelter free of charge. All they desire is that we reimburse them for their transportation costs. I think that's a huge blessing to the city, that we have partner agencies in the Northeast Oklahoma area that see our need and are willing to provide their assistance. This is a partnership agreement to fulfill an interim need. And in the next slide, I'll talk about what the interim need means. What we want to be able to do tonight in terms of long-term planning is establish a matching fund program to purchase freezers to store animal remains while preparing them for transport to Angel's Pet Funeral Home. Again, this is an interim solution to a longer-term need. What the matching program would probably look like is similar to what we have with our other matching fund programs throughout the city, where an organization or an individual may raise $10,000. The city will try to match $10,000 or work with our granting organizations to be certain that we can match that money that has been raised. And so the first priority will be for freezers so that those animals can be stored prior to their transport to be properly cared for. The matching fund will also be used towards the purchase of a cremation device for use at the animal shelter. Currently, we do not have our own cremation device. And so in the longer term, we not only want to have the freezer, but we want to have the capacity to be able to take care of our animal remains here in the city of Muscovy. So what I'm asking the council to approve on tonight is the establishment of a matching fund program that will go towards assisting our animal shelter in terms of the purchase of a freezer and then a cremation device.
Second.
Mr. Mayor, we have a citizen who would like to speak,
Yes.
and
Now,
I would like to suspend the rules because she didn't get a chance to sign up. And I would like to suspend the rules so she can have a chance to speak. Ms. Cleveland?
Second.
Second.
it's been properly moved in second. Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, I'm going to ask that you will come to the microphone this time, give us your name and your address, and you'll have 5 minutes.
Mayor, council people, thank you for letting me speak. I represent the Oklahoma Alliance for Animals. It's a large nonprofit group based in Tulsa that's been in existence for 15 years. We do a lot of work in communities, rescuing neglected animals, court advocacy on animal welfare and cruelty cases. We work closely with law enforcement as their help is greatly needed. Some of the situations we go into are dangerous. I've been with them for several years, and I've been doing rescue work and community service work for animals in this community for nearly 16 years. We just want you to know, as an organization, how important the incineration issue is to us. We got a lot of phone calls from people that were very passionate and very distressed from the photo that was circulated on Facebook. Were all of you aware of that photo, and did you get to see it? Well, for those of you that didn't, I'm sure that is Mr. Hammonds. I've not met him before. Are you Mr. Hammonds? Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood his name. I'm not on social media. I stay so busy with animal welfare that I can just get too much input, and it's just overwhelming for me at times. So when there is an animal welfare issue that comes up that is as polarizing as this photo that was circulated, my phone blows up and my text messages blow up like most of you. For those of you that didn't see it, someone in the community who is a big supporter of the shelter and has been for years witnessed a lot of dead animals piled up in the back of one of the city shelter trucks. And I guess the corpses were rotting, and the stench was unbearable. So it was a polarizing, visceral moment for that person and for everyone that did see the photo. It did get circulated widely on social media, is my understanding. I got calls from different communities about it, and the Oklahoma Alliance for Animals was hoping that I would come today. It sounds like you're taking a proactive measure. We really appreciate that so much. I think the animals do deserve that, and people in the community want to feel like the animals that have to be euthanized are taken care of properly. There was a second issue that I wanted to raise about that photo. If you looked at the bottom of the picture and enlarged it, there was a dog whose foot was sticking out of the bottom of the bag. It looked like a Catahoula bred dog. It appeared in the photo to those of us that noticed that the dog had tried to claw out of the bag, which suggests that the dog was still breathing when it was bagged. I don't think any passionate or compassionate person thinks that that is a humane way to dispose of an animal. Their heartbeat is supposed to be checked post-euthanization to make sure that the sodium phenobarbital has done its job and the animal has had a humane death. I did get some screenshots from people in the animal welfare community that two people had commented that they had been at the shelter at different times. They put their names on the post. I would guess the names were where they were real profiles, and said that they too had witnessed animals still moving in bags. So it's very important that the right dosage be given to the animals. I believe you go by weight to administer the proper dose so that the animals die as humanely as possible. So I think the partnership for the crematory service is an outstanding idea. The Oklahoma Alliance has been in touch with Tyler Hammonds and offered to work with him and to do whatever they could to help. So I just wanted to let you know that the issue is very important to the animal welfare community, I think the public at large, and I really appreciate your time in taking my statement. Thank you.
His name is Tyler Evans.
Pardon me?
I think Mr. Evans on is
Tyler,
right there.
is that Tyler?
Tyler Evans. Yes.
Okay, Tyler Evans. Okay, I thought it was Hammonds. I apologize to you because we haven't met, but it is a very important issue to us. Thank you so much.
And ma'am, for our record purposes, can you give us your name and your
Oh,
address?
I'm sorry, of course. It's Carol Ann. That's my first name. My last name is Cleland, Cleland. I reside at 6920 West 53rd Street South in Muskogee County. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, this is an important issue for our community, and certainly I want to thank the efforts of our staff at the animal shelter who have done everything they could with the direction that they had. And this is an effort to help them to make their job run smoothly as it should. And so I believe the motion should be to direct staff to prepare a resolution establishing the fund that will be a matching fund towards the purchase of a freezer and then towards a crematory device.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion from the council?
I had some, Mayor
Yes.
Coleman, I just want to say that I did see the photos and I did see the comments from Mr. Evans. Thank you for speaking out, Mr. Evans, letting the public know what our stand was here from the city. I do commend the board here and hope that we vote correctly, that this is something that's needed in Muskogee and needed bad. So thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you, Councilwoman McGee. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, the item passes. Item number 13.
Discuss and take possible action on a proposed tourism plan for the city of Muskogee, as well as provide direction to staff regarding a possible future budget amendment to reflect any such plan adopted or take other necessary action.
Council, we had been asked on several occasions how we would move forward with our discussion and subsequent action on the tourism plan for the city of Muskogee. As many of us are aware, several weeks ago, the council voted to bring the tourism program in-house. Then it was decided that we would consider all of our options in terms of how we will move forward to facilitate an actual tourism plan. And so the plan that we're going to present to you tonight for your consideration takes into account your comments and suggestions as council. It also takes into consideration those comments that have been made to us by our stakeholders. It also takes into consideration those comments that were made to us by the general public. On the slide before you, this is just a short overview of how the process can work. The city of Muskogee, which is basically the city council, we receive and budget the hotel motel tax. Annually, we are given a projected number of revenues. The city council, also in its capacity as the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority, sets aside a certain dollar amount that we will withhold for our tourism attractions, and then we release the funds to another entity to actually facilitate the tourism process. Currently, we have a MRA tourism board that's made up of about 11 members. The new proposal reduces that number to 5, and it is specifically targeted to include those entities that have a direct relationship to the tourism process. Those members would be as follows: 1 member from the Hotel Motel Lobby Association, 1 member from Main Street, 1 member from the Castle, the chairman of the Chamber Board, and 1 member at large who will be appointed by the Muskogee Tourism Trust. Let me be very clear and transparent that the MRA Tourism Board or Committee is operating in an advisory capacity to the Muskogee Tourism Trust. They are not the begin-all or end-all to the process. but their intricacy is important as an advisory group to be certain that those who are working on tourism have the best opportunity to make the best decisions to make tourism work in Muskogee. The Muskogee Tourism Trust will administer the day-to-day operations, oversee staff, and approve all of those claims. Currently, the Roxy Trust, as it is proposed, will become the Muskogee Tourism Trust, and their responsibilities will be to facilitate the ins and outs and the day-to-day workings of the Roxy as well as tourism here in Muskogee. Do I have the clicker? Thank you. Organizational structure. The Muskogee Tourism Trust is responsible for the day-to-day management of tourism operations. At its infancy stage, it will work with the city manager to develop a job description, vacancy announcement to recruit a tourism director. The MTT will review applications and work in consultation with the MRA Tourism Board or committee to establish an interview panel, hire a tourism director, and set a salary package. That is what our trust should be doing once we delegate that responsibility to them. It is incumbent upon them to work with others to be certain that we have an adequate job description, that we have a fair process that is open for others who would like to apply, as well as being certain that we set a salary package commensurate with the talent that we'd like to be able to attract. Additional tourism staff positions will be recommended by the MTT to the MRA Tourism Board and are subject to budgetary constraints. At the moment, what we're going to see in terms of the budget is a partial budget based on the funds that we are going to collect the rest of the 8 months that we actually have the contract. And so as funds become available or as the need is necessary, they will recommend the hiring of additional staff as needed. The tourism director will recommend and upon approval, implement a comprehensive tourism strategy. When we say a comprehensive tourism strategy, we're talking about a tourism strategy that does not just focus on events, but it considers any reason an industry or an organization would want to be in Muskogee, either on a permanent basis or interimly. The tourism director will review all requests for funding of tourism projects and programs within the with the MRA Tourism Board, who will review and recommend approval of funding of said projects to the MTT for final approval. The tourism director is an employee of the MTT. And I think it's important to highlight we are actually doing that similar process now with the tourism board, where it is recommended and then they approve and make those recommendations forward. In this instance, they will be going back to the tourism trust. All approved tourism projects programs must be tourism related in nature, and we have to put that safeguard in so that people can understand that although we may have sometimes up to $1 million to spend on tourism, that money is earmarked specifically for tourism projects. Heads and beds is not a unilateral qualifier or disqualifier in this process, as all visitors do not stay overnight. That was evident with our Jeep Jam that we recently had, as well as our event, Hot Dogs and Heroes. Many of those people came in, some stayed and some did not. We don't want that to be a single qualifier for determining whether or not an event should receive tourism funds. Again, the MTT will review all of their claims. The projected unbudgeted revenues, these are monies that have not yet been expended, is $375,000. That number can change up or down depending on the market. The way we have the budget allocated, tourism events, $197,250 for tourism events and programming. This includes all of the community support requests, which have been limited to $5,000 per request per year. That $197,000 is there so that the tourism director, the Muskogee Tourism Trust, and the MRA can have something to work with in terms of planning for events or creating events as we try to attract people to Muskogee. We also have $131,000 budgeted for recruitment of events to city venues, and these are examples: the Civic Center, the Hatbox, or perhaps even the Roxy, in the event that they need to bring in an entertainer or a headliner. They have money to be able to do that in the venues that we have. The tourism salary for the director, and this is to be determined in final form by the Muskogee Tourism Trust. The estimate that I came up with for the salary was $62,000. The Tourism Trust has the authority to work with that number to determine its feasibility. The reason why I set the number at that level is because we want to be certain that as we go through the recruitment process that we are fair and be able to recruit others necessary to give us a good applicant pool. Funds set aside to support city tourism attractions are not intended to be permanent. The Tourism Director and MRA Tourism Board Committee will work with these entities to develop a financial plan to be self-sufficient so that funds used to support these venues will be used for venue development. One of the things that we do now as a council and the MRA has done a really good job at being certain that our venues have money to be able to survive. Well, what this does in the longer term is move us from survival to actual venue development so that the venues are popular and sustainable enough so that when we do allocate funds, we're developing venues and not just supporting their overhead expenses. Mm-hmm. We hope to have carryover funds that we can use as leverage with our state tourism through the Lieutenant Governor for the establishment of a visitor center. There are funds available, and at least the conversation is willing to be had at the state level to consider having a visitor center with matching funds established along the Highway 69 corridor. That's our main thoroughfare for traffic. It is somewhat inconceivable to believe that people will actually leave Highway 69 or the bypass intently to travel downtown just to go to the visitor center. And so we need a visitor center in a prominent location where we can actually attract people to find out what's going on in Muskogee in a single place. The hotel motel tax revenue carried forward from the contractor, we're asking that that be reserved for capital projects investing in the development of a visitor center. That is the end of my presentation. We will take any questions from the council at this time.
I'll chime in, and I'm sure everyone knows that, you know, I've kind of had some reserve with the whole process that we've endeavored in over the last couple of months in getting to the vote for tonight. I would start by saying that COVID got us here. Let's not forget that COVID got us here. That's the only reason that we arrived to this point, is that we looked at the money that would be left from the damage of COVID, and it was not enough to move the Chamber of Commerce forward to continue to provide the services that they were providing in our tourist plan. It was at that point that we as a council voted, I believe it was probably 8-1, that we would reevaluate with the money that we have, and we knew that this year of 2020 would be a year that there would be some pain when it came to tourist events, and as a result, there were a lot of things that have been canceled. And as we are looking at the forecast, we don't know, you know, even what the beginning of 2021 is going to bring. So with that, you know, we said at that point that we would work on a plan to temporarily house the tourism in-house to give us a chance to take a forecast and a look at, you know, where do we go from here. I'm kind of disgruntled because we have spent that time since before we, you know, passed the budget, and we have still to this day actually not come to what we had decided that we were going to try to do, is to try to come up with a plan to grow tourism. You know, if we lost the Chamber of Commerce, we said as a council, you know, there's more events, more broader events that we want to look at, and we would, you know, use this time interim to try to build our tourism program overall. To take the Muskogee Redevelopment Trust that we put most of the members on in 2019, and they are to serve until 2023. It wasn't their fault. and we are kicking them out of a lead role and putting them as a, quote, advisory role. We are bringing in another trust and advising the other trust to be the lead role. You know, I have a problem, you know, with swallowing that type of politics. And, you know, furthermore, I'll say, you know, with the tourism center, I was on the council when we had a tourism center here in our community, and we looked and we saw that there were not people stopping at a tourism center. And this was a digital age, this was a social media age, and if we would really want to reach people, people research the city, you know, digital-wise. So, you know, to spotlight and go, you know, down the direction of opening up a tourism center and you know, the nice decorated things. I'm just kind of disgruntled, you know, where we're headed at this point. I would really, you know, just wanted to clear the record that I will be voting no, because I believe in our community, and I would like to see us, you know, come up with a tourist vision, rather than spending the time arguing and fussing over, you know, who's going to actually be the leader and who's going to be in charge. You know, we need a tourist plan, and we need time to come up with that. And then once again, we need time to swallow what COVID will do to even what we call tourism. And, you know, unfortunately, that's what I have to say about that.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Reed. Do we have any other comments from the council or a motion in consideration of what has been presented?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. Do we have any further discussion?
Mayor, I'd just like to clarify what the motion and second is. Is it to move forward with the plan? And if so, would that include a couple of other items? So if we could, now you may have, I forgot who made the motion. If you had something in mind, but if not, I'm happy to go ahead and state what I think maybe needs to be included in it.
Okay, go ahead and make your comment.
So I think probably what was intended, that there be a motion to move approval of the tourism plan as presented, which would include directing staff to prepare a budget amendment reflecting the changes that were addressed on the slide, as well as preparing all documents necessary to implement the plan, which would include resolutions for the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority, as well as the trust indenture amendments for the Roxy Trust, soon to be called the Muskogee Tourism Trust.
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. Do we have any further discussion from the council? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
No.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, and the item passes. That concludes the scheduled agenda items for tonight, but we do have one citizen signed up to speak, Mr. David Allen Lavender. I'm going to ask that you come to the microphone, give us your address, and you will have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is David Allen Lavender. I stay in a tent in the backyard at 2302 North Kingston Street. I'm homeless, and the reason why I came here tonight is because I don't know how else to address this issue. I went into the police. I guess I should start by telling what's been going on. I got hit in a hit and run in Texas that left me on the ground with my arm broken, and someone's taken pride in hacking me all the way up to my Social Security, and I knew nothing about this. I haven't been familiar with cyber crimes. I have been in trouble, but I didn't understand any of this stuff as it was happening to me. It left me homeless and caused some mental illnesses, you know, and this has gone on for some time now. I got home in March of this year and came to Muskogee, and I've tried to do right. I'm not involved with anybody. I've done American Legion and everything, and I can't figure out why this is happening, but the reason why I'm bringing this up, and I'm not able to make copies due to not having funds waiting on Social Security. I would give out copies of some of the evidence I have, but I've had my medical records hacked in different instances to sabotage my Social Security process, and it's gone into Social Security and dates. So whoever's done it's been in depth. But while in the city of Muskogee, I've tried to re-upload records to the computer because I've had my stuff stolen before, and so I've tried to safeguard it, and then that gets hacked, which is against state and federal law. What upset me is I went into the police department and started trying to explain what's been happening to me. Third-party hacking, how I've sat on the ground with these issues. I've got back problems, and the most recent thing, I'm trying to work with St. Francis, which has been, heck, I don't seem to get all the phone calls I'm supposed to, and they say third-party hacking, they can get in between you and your system. But whoever's doing this to me is pretty persistent, and what bothered me, and I found to be a civil rights violation, by not only failure to protect from the police. So I went in, and it says citizens crime report here, but I went in and met with an officer with badge number 50, and I can't read his name. But I spoke to two officers and began to explain to them what happened. And whenever you get into Social Security and things like that, that leaves cyber crimes that goes into forms of terrorism, and I don't know if that includes the medical records and things like that. I turned that in, and then they told me to fill out the citizens crime report, which it says it's only good for larceny and misdemeanors and harassing, which it could go under harassing, so it may be the appropriate report. But I went back in a month later, and I met, I said nothing's happened, and a city attorney, Brooke came out, assistant city attorney, and I explained to him what had been happening, and he said, well, if nothing's happened, I guess nothing's going to happen for you. And I said, you know, that's failure to protect, and this isn't right. I need help, and don't know what to tell you. Went back in his office, so I decided to bring it up because I'm homeless and I need help. I don't know how to address this. I'm not connected enough to fight this fight on my own.
Thank you.
My time's up.
We can't directly address you, but
I understand the rules, but I know tonight I could address it to make it known and start getting some kind of help. It's horrible being homeless. I met my kid for the first time this weekend in Muskogee from 17 years ago. I didn't even know I had a kid, and it was horrible only having a few dollars in my pocket. Whenever I've worked, I was eligible for disability, which is, you know, $3,000 plus a month, and I'm sitting here broke with my arm broken on the ground, and the same process has been happening again. And whether I call people at the hospital, my phone will get cut off. I send emails to people. I'm not getting any of the help I need, and I need to get someone that could help me. And I just wanted to address this tonight in an appropriate fashion by at least asking people for help. So thank you for your time and listening to me.
What I'll do, since you emailed me directly, I'm going to email you some information on how to contact our local legal aid.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, Mayor.
Item number 14.
Consider an executive session to discuss and take possible action on the following. A, pursuant to Section 307B4, Title 25, Oklahoma Statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss a demand for arbitration from Dylan Jones, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session. B, pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25, Oklahoma Statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss negotiations with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Local Number 2465, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session.
Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Further discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, I'm going to ask that those who do not need to be here, if you excuse us as we go into executive session at this time. We will now reconvene from executive session. Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Jamie Stout.
Here.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Here.
Alex Reynolds. Stephanie Morgan.
Here.
Tracy McGee.
Here.
Tracy Hoos.
Here.
Mr. Tucker.
Item 14A, pursuant to Section 307B4, Title 25, Oklahoma Statutes, the City Council did convene an executive session to discuss a demand for arbitration from Dylan Jones. After being briefed on the status of that arbitration, no action is necessary at this time. Item 14B, pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25 Oklahoma Statutes, the City Council did convene an executive session to discuss ongoing negotiations with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Local Number 65. 2465. After being briefed on the status of those negotiations, I believe an appropriate motion would be to approve a collective bargaining agreement between the City of Muskogee and the American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees, Local 2465 for fiscal year 2020-2021.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We've had discussion during our executive session. Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. The item passes and we are adjourned.